had the Galaxy S20 Ultra for 30 days. It's been my daily driver. I don't review phones until I use them for 30 days or so to give you an idea and myself how I plan to use the phone every day. I'm Kevin the Tech Ninja, and let's dive into it. The S20 Ultra is the most technically advanced phone that I've used. Of course, it has great specs. It's 2020's first flagship phone, so it'll have the best stuff in it. And for good reason. This phone starts at $1,400 for 128 gigabytes of storage. It's expandable with an SD card and also 12 gigabytes of RAM. The phone is very large as well in my hands, coming in at 6.9 inches, and that screen looks great as expected. Samsung always makes an amazing display, and obviously this one's not going to be an exception. You know, watching movies on this thing is really good, and even gaming. The design is bezel-less, giving it 90% of screen to body ratio. The cutout up top for the front-facing camera is really small too, and it becomes a non-issue for me, as it's 30% smaller than the Note's cutout for the front-facing camera. The phone feels slippery, and that camera module makes it very top-heavy. Of course, you can slap on a D-brand skin to smooth things out, or you can even get D-brand's own grip case. The case brings balance to the phone, so thanks for them for sponsoring this portion of the video. I also made another video talking about their official cases as well. You can check that out using my links below. Now, speaking of the screen, it has the ability to do 120 Hz refresh rate, which is really hard to show on camera, but everything is much smoother and fluid. It's to the point where I go back to another phone that doesn't have a high refresh rate, and it's just not the same. It's something you need to see to understand, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. But there is compromises to make this happen. The screen drops below Quad HD to 1080p resolution, and there's around a 2 to 3 hour hit to battery life. For me, it's a trade-off I'm willing to make. I enjoy 120 Hz that much. I will say, however, Samsung was very conservative on the battery life. Out of the box, it comes at 1080p resolution, 60 Hz. So to get the best experience, you'd have to go into settings and adjust it to 120 Hz or step up the resolution to Quad HD. The next big innovation with the S20 Ultra has to be the cameras. There is so much going on with the cameras that I can make a video dedicated to this. However, let's talk about the important stuff that actually matters. The S20 Ultra uses a 108 megapixel sensor, but let's not confuse that with 108 megapixel images. By default, these images will actually come out as 12 megapixels, but the larger sensor allows for grabbing more data and making images brighter. And this also comes into play with zoom functions, which I'll dive into in just a few moments. But first, let's talk about the feature that Samsung loved so much, they even put it on the camera cluster itself. That's the 100x space zoom. This allows you to zoom in at an image at 100x. Does it work? In short, yes. But the images are nothing to be proud of. They're very fuzzy and lack color and detail. It works best when trying to see something far away where details may not matter as much. Like being on a bridge and taking a picture from across the bridge and at a house or something like that. The technology is so cool to see, but it's something that I don't plan to use much, and I don't miss it when I switch phones. But what works well is the 30x zoom. This looks very good. Take a look at these two images. This is the ultra wide shot, and then the 30x shot. The first shot, you can't see the sign at all, but now you can make it out perfectly with 30x. Overall, the zoom on the S20 Ultra is great as long as you stay below 30x. Anything above that just looks really bad. I think the camera on the S20 on surface is solid and you get some really great pictures, but there are some issues with it. Firstly, the S20 Ultra has issues autofocusing. Here are some images I took that the focus just was not nailed, it was soft. I have a whole album of these shots that looks just like this. It seems like if the brightness isn't perfect, then there's a slight chance that the image will be soft focus. This isn't something that I get on every photo, but I have enough to provide many examples. Also, for me, there's issues with highlights. In this image right here, this was actually taken with the back camera. The subject looks good, but the sky is blown out, and thus it doesn't turn into a realistic photo. This next image with the back camera once again, my son's face is washed out. There's a lot of light on that side, but it didn't bring back that color. It was just blasted for whatever reason. I do love the ultra wide lens. I think it's very sharp, and also dynamic range is really nice too, as long as you don't have that blast of light. I think in this shot right here, it kept the image looking realistic while providing detail in the shadow and all the bright side as well. There is a solid night mode too, and I think it looks good. And single take mode, it's a mode where it takes multiple images and videos with just a single press. I use this mode a lot with my son, and I end up with some decent looking images and also fun little videos. The front facing camera, I find, takes really good shots as long as it nails the focus. Some of the selfies on here look really good. Now, I hate taking selfies, don't get me wrong, but I think these do tend to come out really nice. It also cuts out very well where my glasses are. Some phones struggle with glasses and this phone does not. As long as the beauty mode and all those things are turned off, I think overall this is a notch below the Pixel, but I think it's better than the iPhone when it comes to portrait mode. The video on the S20 Ultra feels like the S10 for the most part, which is not a bad thing at all. Once again, Samsung added a first ever mode in video, and this is 8K recording. Samsung's use case for this is that you could take your 8K content and watch it on your 8K TV. Talk about a use case for the 1%. Although I think the footage looks okay for the most part, but to make it happen, the bitrate is so low that the video in all settings just doesn't look great. It requires good lighting and not a lot of motion. Overall, once again, I quickly went back to 4K. 4K videos is really good once again. The footage is clean, and you can also shoot up to 60 frames per second. I wish there was a 24 frames per second cinema mode on 4K. I'm not sure why it's not there. It seems simple enough to do, but that is a personal preference. And the audio sounds really good too. Okay, front-facing camera, Galaxy S20 Ultra. Once again, what do you think? How does it sound? How does it look? However, 4K is good enough, and it does a good job with stabilization. Speaking of stabilization, there is a super steady mode which gives you 6-axis stabilization. It uses the large sensor and downscales the image and gives you some of the smoothest video you'll find on mobile. You do lose HDR and also some low light sensitivity, but if you want to record some action shots, this mode would help you do it. I feel confident with this camera to run in this mode, and I know the image will be stable after looking back at it or putting it on my computer. Overall, the camera system is very robust, so many different modes and shots and effects, and I can't get into everything in just this video. They said there's gonna be an update to fix autofocusing issues and some other bugs, but as of today, March 22nd, it did not come to my phone yet. And I also checked this morning, and I'm gonna continue to check. All right, so now that the camera's out of the way, how good of a phone is it? It's an excellent phone. The performance is good as expected. I did a speed test against the Note and it was 7 seconds faster in a 1-minute speed test, which right there says a lot. In classic Samsung fashion, you have settings on top of settings of things you can adjust and modify, and you know, I like it. As a person that loves settings and loves tweaking things, I dig it. Samsung to me makes one of the best versions of Android, and that's saying a lot. Around 5 years ago, I felt the opposite. I do feel that 120 Hz helps a lot in functionality of the phone and perceived smoothness. Battery life is top notch with all-day battery life and then some. And once you add 120 Hz, you may lose around 3 hours. Once you kick it up to QHD, you may lose about an hour or so. But overall, losing that amount of battery life on this excellent battery is not a big deal to me, and it still lands it at the top of the flagship phones as far as battery life. So look, the S20 Ultra is a beast of a phone, but after using it and the S20 Plus, it's hard to say the S20 Ultra is worth $200 extra. It's a solid phone, don't get me wrong, but that price makes it unreachable for many people, and I don't think it's worth the upcharge. So many good phones are coming out, and there are so many that are under $1,000. And then it makes you think, is this phone $400 or $600 more expensive than the next phone? Is it worth that much more money? The S20 Plus review will be coming out really soon. If it already is out, it will be linked down below, and you can see the comparisons and what is really different between these two phones, and why do I feel that the S20 Plus is just a better phone overall. Anyways guys, those are my thoughts. I'm Kevin the Tech Ninja. Have a great day. Stay safe out there. Talk to you guys later. Peace.